Imagine the summer of 1992. In the outskirts of Columbus, Ohio, a party is raging at an abandoned quarry lake. Teenagers are everywhere, swimming, laughing, oblivious. But around midnight, the laughter turns to screams. Someone discovers two boys drowning in the deep, dark water. By the time emergency services arrive, it's too late. 16-year-old Michael Patterson and 17-year-old James Rodriguez are pulled from the water, their lives tragically cut short. Their friend, 15-year-old Ryan Cooper, is nowhere to be found. He's presumed drowned, his body lost to the quarry forever. The case is ruled a horrific accident. For 3 decades, this tragedy haunted the community. 3 families were shattered. The quarry was fenced off, a silent monument to a night of loss. The town tried to move on, but some wounds never fully heal. Then, in March of 2022, the impossible happened. A man walked into the Columbus Police Department and claimed to be Ryan Cooper. He said he had been held captive in a basement for 30 years. The desk sergeant was skeptical, suspecting a mental health crisis. But the man provided details only Ryan could possibly know. A fingerprint scan confirmed it. Against all odds, Ryan Cooper was alive. Detective Sarah Chen was assigned the case. She was faced with a man who was technically 47, but who looked frail and much older. He was malnourished, his skin unnaturally pale from decades without sunlight. He struggled to make eye contact and flinched at any sudden movement. Psychologists confirmed he was suffering from extreme trauma consistent with long-term captivity. Detective Chen sat down with Ryan, bracing herself for his story. What he described was a living nightmare, a 30-year theft of a human life. Ryan's voice was weak, his story halting. He explained he was at the party that night, but had wandered into the woods to find a private spot to use the bathroom. Suddenly, someone grabbed him from behind. He remembered a brief struggle, then blackness. He woke up in a cold, concrete room. There was a bed, a bucket, and a locked door. Once a day, his captor would appear, always wearing a mask, leaving food and water without ever speaking a word. Ryan said he screamed for help for weeks, then months. Eventually, the screams died in his throat, replaced by a suffocating silence. Detective Chen asked the one question that could unlock everything. "Ryan, who took you?" His answer sent a shockwave through the investigation. "Mr. Henderson," he whispered. "He was our guidance counselor at school." Thomas Henderson had organized the party, promising everyone it would be fun and safe. He even told them he would supervise. Ryan recalled how Henderson had been unusually friendly in the months leading up to the party, offering him rides, buying him lunch, saying Ryan reminded him of his younger brother. It was classic grooming behavior, a sinister pattern no one recognized until it was far, far too late. Chen immediately launched a search for Thomas Henderson. Records showed he was a guidance counselor at Lincoln High from 1989 to 1993, leaving his position shortly after Ryan vanished. He had relocated to Pennsylvania, working at various schools until his retirement in 2018. Then a crucial detail emerged. Henderson had died of a heart attack in October 2021, just 5 months before Ryan reappeared. The timing wasn't a coincidence. Ryan was free because his captor was dead. Chen and a tactical team descended on Henderson's last known address, a small house on a rural property outside Pittsburgh. Neighbors described Henderson as a quiet man who kept to himself. They'd noticed he hadn't been around for months, but simply assumed he'd passed away peacefully. The house was locked, the yard overgrown. After securing a warrant, they breached the door. The main floor seemed ordinary, just dated and dusty. But then they found the basement door. It was secured with 7 different locks. The basement was split into 2 sections. The front was a normal workshop, filled with tools and storage boxes. But behind a section of shelving, they discovered a hidden door. It led to a 12 by 12-foot concrete cell. Inside was a bed with restraints, a bucket in the corner, and expired food containers scattered on the floor. This was Ryan's world for 30 years. The walls were a testament to his despair, covered in scratches, tally marks for the days, and desperate pleas. "Help me. Someone please. I want to go home." Forensic teams documented the horrific scene. They found Henderson's journals, which chronicled Ryan's captivity in cold clinical language. The writings revealed a deeply twisted psychology. Henderson believed Ryan was perfect and needed to be preserved from the corrupting influence of the outside world. In his sick mind, he wasn't imprisoning Ryan, he was saving him. The journals spanned 30 years, a daily log of his crime, showing no remorse, only a chilling satisfaction in his successful preservation. As Chen dug into Henderson's past, a pattern of systemic failure became terrifyingly clear. Sealed juvenile records showed Henderson had been accused of inappropriate behavior with students at his very first teaching job back in 1985. The case was quietly settled, and he was allowed to continue working with children. 2 other incidents at different schools followed, but he always moved on before any formal charges were filed. Henderson was a predator, hiding in plain sight, protected by the very system meant to stop him. The investigation also uncovered the full, terrible truth about that night at the quarry. It wasn't an accident. Henderson had orchestrated the entire party as a cover for his plan to abduct Ryan. But Michael and James had seen Henderson leading their friend away. They followed, trying to intervene. Henderson couldn't let them interfere. A forensic review of the original autopsy reports revealed what had been missed. Both boys had signs of head trauma. Henderson had attacked them and held them underwater, murdering 2 teenagers to conceal the abduction of a third. Detective Chen had the heartbreaking task of informing the families of Michael Patterson and James Rodriguez. For 30 years, they had grieved what they thought was a tragic accident. Now they learned their sons were murdered heroes. The news was devastating, but it also brought a strange sense of gratitude. Ryan had survived. Their son's brave attempt to save their friend had not been completely in vain. Ryan lived because Michael and James had tried to save him. The psychological toll on Ryan was immense. He was a boy of 15 when he was taken, and a man of 47 when he was freed. He had missed his entire adult life. First loves, college, career, friendships, all stolen. He suffered from severe PTSD and anxiety, constantly checking locks, unable to truly believe he was free. As one psychologist explained, missing those critical years of identity formation leaves permanent scars. Some damage can never be undone. Ryan's mother, Susan, had never given up hope. For 3 decades, she maintained a missing persons website, hired investigators, and organized searches, refusing to accept that her son was gone. When Detective Chen called to tell her Ryan was alive, Susan collapsed. Their reunion was a torrent of emotion, captured by news cameras. A mother embracing her son after 30 agonizing years. She didn't recognize the traumatized man before her, but she held on to him, her lost boy, finally home. The community held a memorial for Michael and James, their deaths now officially reclassified as homicides. They were honored as the heroes they were. Ryan attended the ceremony and spoke publicly for the first time. His voice trembled as he said, "They tried to save me, and I never got to thank them. I survived because they fought for me. I'm sorry it took 30 years to tell the truth." There wasn't a dry eye in the crowd, but the horror wasn't over. A search of Henderson's property with ground-penetrating radar revealed 3 more sets of human remains buried in the woods. They were identified as teenage boys who had gone missing from Pennsylvania between 1995 and 2005, all from areas near schools where Henderson had worked. Ryan wasn't his only victim. He was just the only one who survived. Chen pieced together the disturbing reason for Ryan's survival. Henderson's journals described Ryan as his masterpiece, the perfect subject for his twisted experiment in preservation. The other boys were failures. Ryan survived because Henderson's obsession shifted from abduction to possession. He treated Ryan not as a person, but as a prized object to be maintained. The case exploded into a massive FBI investigation, tracing Henderson's entire career across 4 states and 9 different schools. At nearly every location, they found unsolved missing persons cases involving teenage boys. For over 30 years, Henderson had hunted, enabled by a system that failed to connect the dots. 1 year after he walked into that police station, Ryan gave a final interview. He had gained some weight, and the color had returned to his face. He even smiled, though his eyes still held a profound sadness. He spoke of starting community college, of maybe becoming a counselor to help other survivors. He said he thinks about Michael and James every day, and that he feels he owes it to them to make his second chance at life matter. Justice for Thomas Henderson is impossible, but for Ryan Cooper, the long, difficult journey of reclaiming a stolen life has just begun. The drowning pool case is closed. Ryan Cooper is free after 30 years in captivity. 2 murdered boys are finally honored as heroes, but justice died with Henderson. Every week we investigate cases that show the resilience of survivors and the failures that enabled predators. If you believe every missing person deserves to be searched for, subscribe to Cold Case Chronicles Unsolved. Hit subscribe, turn on notifications, share with those who never give up hope. Ryan's mother searched for 30 years and never stopped believing. This is Cold Case Chronicles Unsolved. The investigation continues.